I'm going to grant one right now, whether or not I want to or not to give to actual class today. I think I should go because we may or may not have a podcast, but the class is during the time this snowstorm is going to be blowing through this area. Or what happens if this really cool other path comes along and he gets this place? I like that. It's ideal path.
No, I think that's so that would
Totally opposite, yes. I feel like my eyes would just go. Just looking at all the numbers.
We're going to come back together. Does anyone have any really interesting stories about a choice they made? What happened and they not, and they put the other option?
I chose to eat a banana this morning before I left the house, and otherwise I wouldn't have had breakfast.
Had you not had breakfast, what would be happening now?
I'd be lacking in potassium.
Hungry as well and not paying attention. My wonderful lesson. Any other choice? Emily.
I decided to have tea this morning instead of coffee because my boyfriend asked me if I wanted tea. That way I drank the tea instead so it wouldn't hurt his feelings because he was kind enough to offer me to make me tea this morning.
So had you taken the coffee, you would have hurt his feelings?
He might have been a little bit off, but I wanted to make the tea. And then I'd be sitting here being like, oh, I should have made the tea. It was peppermint. It was very good.
Any other ones?
Okay, I'll take a story since Kaylin was in the class visiting last week, even though I'm on the 8th grade, so none of this has happened yet. But when I was a junior in college, I got pregnant with Kaylin and I wasn't married. And my boyfriend lived in Wisconsin, I lived here. And so my dad called me and told me that I needed to get an abortion or he would stop supporting me through school. And so I chose not to do that, obviously, since Kaylin was here, and supported my way through school.
Thank you for sharing. All right. Can you guys pay attention to what Megan's saying, please?
Well, on a lighter note, this morning I got up 10 minutes early and watched an episode of Adventure Time.
Instead of sleeping for 10 minutes?
Yeah.
What happened had you slept for 10 minutes and now watched Adventure Time?
I probably would have got it out of bed.
Well, we're glad you got out of bed and came here today. So for my decision making, when I decided to go left instead of right, as I was continuing walking down that path, I started thinking about what would happen had I gone right instead. For those of you who have walked through Putnam Park, what happens after you walk down the one path for a while?
They come out at the same spot.
Yes, they literally come out at the same spot, and then they converge together after one point. So honestly, it really didn't matter which one I chose. But we're going to read a poem today called The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. You all have this. And also what you need is a pen or a pencil. So we're going to read this using a strategy called underlining, marking, and annotating the text. So what you do when you underline and mark the text is you'll circle words you don't know, you'll underline important ideas, and then you'll write. Annotating is writing little notes on the side for the ideas that you have. Now, the first thing is you want to break it up into smaller parts. So you don't want to read the whole thing and have to go back again. You always want to read first. Because this is a poem, it's already broken up, as you can see, into small stanzas. So they did do that for us. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna read each stanza one at a time, and then after we're done reading it, we're gonna go back and mark it. Now, important thing to remember when marking the text is that you don't wanna mark it too much. Otherwise, it'll look like this. And it's not really all that helpful, because I just like literally underlined everything, circled a ton of things, wrote pretty much exactly what was written every single time. So this doesn't really help me. In fact, this is really confusing because it makes it harder to actually see what's written down. So, who would like to read the first stanza or section? Allie?
Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both, and be one traveler, long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth.
Okay. Thanks, Allie. So I'm going to model first how I would mark this stanza, and then the next stanza, someone else is going to show what they decided to do. So for the first line, two roads diverged in the yellow wood. So one thing I want to do is I want to underline two roads diverged. Because for me that's really important because it means there's two roads and they split apart. So it's not like going down the same way, they split. And sorry I could not travel both. And so you can't travel both of them. So could not and both is really important to me. And be one traveler long I stood, and looked down the one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. Now, does anyone know what the word undergrowth means? Because to me that's a new word I've never heard it before. So I'm going to circle that word and look it up. So I looked it up right here in the dictionary. It's not responding. Well, does anyone have an idea what undergrowth means? Well, I try and look it up in the dictionary and it's not responding to me. So I'm going to try to figure it out by what I know of the two words. We have two words, under and growth. And growth is like, I know means plants or things that grow. And under means that it's kind of going over. So I'm going to assume, oh, never mind, victims. Sorry.
I know what it is.
Low-lying vegetation or small trees growing beneath larger trees. So it's like the bushes underneath the big trees. Okay. Now, one thing I also want to do is I'm also going to quickly write what I think is a good summary of this section. So two roads diverged in the yellow wood. So I think this whole section means that he just came, there's two roads, and he couldn't go down both. So he had a choice. Okay. Now who wants to read the next section? And then also we need someone else to come up here and mark it for us. Dawn, do you want to read or mark? Read. Read? Okay. Who wants to go up and mark it after Dawn's finished reading? Kristen? Okay. Yeah. All right, Dawn, you can go.
Then took the other, as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear. Though as for that, the passing bear had warned them really about the same.
All right, so Kristen, how would you mark this section?
Well, I would start by, this was the first thing I noticed, because it made me think of the road less traveled.
Mm-hmm.
But then, okay, so he took the other one, having perhaps the better claim, so he thought it was the better choice because it was the road less traveled. So as for that, the passing there had warned them really about the same. I don't know what that means.
Okay.
So,
You can put a question mark there because you don't know what it means, and you can ask someone else what they think it means. Does anyone have any idea what those two lines mean? Though as for that, the passing there had warned them really about the same.
Maybe a double cat has it and walk about the same time.
Yeah.
Or the same amount.
That's a good idea because where did you get that from? The word, which words made you think of that?
Worn, so worn is like you wear clothes, and if you wear them down, it becomes really thin and packed.
worn them the same. So what you can do is you can write, because the question mark, the answer to that is, they're both, Rachel, she said that they're both about the same.
No, they both are the same.
Yeah. The same. Hey, Kristen. All right, who wants to read the next section? Michael, who wants to mark it? Thank you. All right, you can start with your Michael.
And both that morning equally lay, in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how ways lead on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back.
Well, the first thing I'm noticing is that he doubted if he should ever come back, so he knows that the path he's taken is one he has to stick with. The next thing is trodden. I'm not sure why it's important that the leaves are trodden black. The leaves are trodden black. I think it means that it hasn't been taken in a while.
So you can write that next to it, to help you reread it next time.
I think that's all I really have for this stanza.
All right. Any other things anyone wants to point out or mark on here? Michael?
That in the fourth line, that ways lead onto way,
All right, and why is that important?
because he's stating that once he gets to the end of that, whichever path he takes, there'll probably be another fourth, so he'll have to make another choice, and he'll never be able to go back to choose the other one.
So choices lead to more choices?
Yeah.
All right, any other? Any other things you want to mark? Okay. One thing I want to mark is that both equally lay. Because that to me says that they're both, it kind of relates to the first part right here. I'm going to draw an arrow right there. Because that relates back to the line before, that they both are the same. So what about the next line? The very last stanza. Who would like to read it? Kristen, who would like to mark it? Ellen, you can come up here. Kristen, you can, there you go, my one's locked.
I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence, two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference.
Right? So how would you mark it, Madeline?
First, I would mark less traveled by, relating back to the title, and made a difference, because it sounds to me like he was happy he made that choice. And I don't really know what he means by ages and ages hence. Why can't he just say ages and ages? I don't know.
So ages and ages hence. So what does that tell you? What does ages and ages hence tell you about what time this part of the poem is taking place?
I'm guessing it was really, really long time ago.
Alright. So another thing, so looking at how we mark this text, we can look at two roads. You're going to choose. One was less traveled, but then he says that they're both about the same. And then in the future, he says there's one less traveled by. So what do we have, what do you think has been the meaning of this poem? What's happened in the poem? Kristen?
I think he's reflecting back on some of the life choices that he made, and they all kind of like one road that he chose or one life path that he chose led him to another life path, and when he concludes that it's made all the difference, it seems as though he like has closure and understanding it as to why maybe he had to make those hard decisions before.
That's really good thing. You showed how you got that from the text. Anyone else have a different interpretation? Allie?
I kind of thought that he wasn't, or she, the narrator wasn't too